Thank you, Gillian and James. For our next and penultimate keynote of the day, we have another fireside chat, this time titled Driving Change, Embodied AI and the Future of Mobility. Neil Kennett, editor of Cars of the Future, will be hosting this panel with Katie Fisher, VP of Commercial and Fleet Operations at Wayve. So please welcome them to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I am indeed Neil Kennett, editor of Cars of the Future. How are we all doing? Feeling the pace? It's getting to the end of a long first day. I have to give a shout out to Andrew from Streetwalks over in the startup zone, who had a 4:30 a.m. start and has therefore been on the go for about 12 hours now. Don't know if anyone can beat that. But time is short. We have 20 minutes. I'm delighted to introduce Katie Fisher, who is VP of Commercial Operations at Wayve.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. Looking forward to the discussion today. Thanks, Neil.
Right. Well, as if by magic, we're going to be seamlessly picking up where the previous panel left off. Presumably, most of you know Wayve, I'm guessing. Yeah? If you don't, there's a couple of things you need to know. So they're UK-based, but they're operating globally. There's a great video of Wayve cars self-driving in 30 countries around the world, I think. They've got some amazing partners. They've been backed to the tune of 1.3 billion by the likes of NVIDIA and Microsoft. You might have seen in the news last week that they're partnering with Uber to launch level 4 trials without a safety driver, basically, here in the UK, possibly next spring. But we've got a lot to get through. We've only got 20 minutes, so let us crack on. Our subject for the day, as Rupert said, is embodied AI and the future of mobility. So let's start with Wayve's approach to embodied AI. What does an embodied AI approach to autonomy actually mean? And why did Wayve choose that path back in 2017?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Neil. As Neil mentioned, Wayve is an autonomous and automated driving company. We're based here in London, but we deploy globally. And the differentiator with our technology, it's what we call AV 2.0, which means that we use end-to-end AI, or embodied AI, in order to deploy automated and autonomous driving systems, everything from L2 plus through L4. And you asked what makes that different. This AV 2.0 is different from traditional approaches to autonomy, what we call AV 1.0, because it can operate anywhere without a geofence, without a high-definition map. It is hardware agnostic, which means that we can operate across multiple SoCs, multiple sensor sets, multiple OEM vehicles. And the way that we are able to do this is by using end-to-end AI. So essentially, as opposed to the traditional approach where you need to hand code rules, which is if A, then B, what Wayve does is we learn from data. So we have a single neural net that takes sensor inputs, whether that be vision, radar, LiDAR, it can even be written text. But we take those sensor inputs from our own fleet, from OEMs, from other data partners. We use that single neural net as our vehicle intelligence to give a safe driving trajectory output. And again, what that means is that we can deploy our technology safely and at scale, which our OEM partners love because they're not deploying their vehicles in one market or one city, certainly not within a geofence. It allows them to deploy the technology to passenger vehicles anywhere around the world.
I think jumping just on that last part there. So how does the Wayve AI driver differ from traditional models or competitor models?
Yeah, so the Wayve AI driver, I talked a little bit about what does embodied AI mean, but when we think about what differentiates Wayve in the automated and autonomous space, what we're doing is we're essentially licensing our software, our vehicle intelligence, to multiple OEMs. And I mentioned that hardware agnosticism. That means that we can not only work across multiple OEMs, but multiple vehicle platforms, because we're decoupling the hardware and the software pairing that otherwise requires a fixed sensor set and layout and a fixed vehicle platform for each type of software in order to operate. So that's one key differentiator, is that we are able to work across multiple OEMs, and we're also not vertically integrated. We stay laser focused on that software and vehicle intelligence. We don't build the end consumer app. We partner with folks like Uber on that one. We're not building hardware. We partner with OEMs and tier ones for that. We're staying solely focused on the vehicle intelligence, which also allows us to be incredibly agile and scalable. And then finally, I would say the last differentiator on that note of scalability is that our technology, our first product to market is an L2 plus system, so truly point-to-point driving. Leave your driveway, drive an hour to work or running errands, and the vehicle intelligence, you'll have to monitor it like an L2 plus system. But the vehicle intelligence will take you fully from point A to point B while you monitor the system. Our performance today would be no interventions, and that can upgrade through L3, where the driver can remove their attention, all the way to L4. So a differentiator as well is that we're not doing L4 only or L2 only. We're doing the full scale of autonomy from L2 plus through L4.
Okay, so it's not seen these environments before. How does it actually go about finding out where it's going without prior exposure to what it's seeing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So on the note of how do we go places sight unseen, or what we call zero shot. So we call it zero shot testing when we put our vehicles in a new market or on a new road, and the vehicle's never been there before, it's never seen that data input before, but it's still able to traverse. How does it do that? It's a great question, and it's because this single neural net, we're creating a foundation model that's intelligent about the way the world works. So just like you or I learn to work from observing and ingesting rules of the road, probably our driving tests, we hope we've all taken if we're driving, and we're able to ingest all of that information and learn from it. So just like you or I would be able to learn to drive here in London, well, if we go to Germany, we'd still be able to drive. We might need, to scratch up on what some of the signs mean. We might need to get comfortable with some unfamiliar road structures, or we might need to learn how to do things like the Autobahn where there's variant speed limits. But just because we're in a new market, it doesn't take away our ability to deploy. That underlying vehicle intelligence, it's what allows our technology to do the same thing. So we use basic off-the-shelf maps, whatever an OEM prefers. We're talking Google Maps, nothing high definition. We use an off-the-shelf map for simple navigation, but that standard vehicle intelligence that we're creating is able to go new places without having been there before, which is a real game changer. And the key here is, a good example is how efficient we are, but a good example of this is when we took our fleet that had only been trained on London data at the time, had only ever been deployed across the UK, we took that fleet, that vehicle intelligence, and we put it in San Francisco. Opposite side of the road, totally different driving culture, different vehicle platform, by the way, when we put it in the US. And with 500 hours worth of data, we were able to deliver the same performance in San Francisco that vehicle intelligence was delivering in London. And this is a game changer that hasn't been seen in the industry, but it's really enabled by using end-to-end AI and that really naturalized learning that scales as opposed to hand coding things.
It's amazing. I would like to go a bit further on that, but we must go on. I want to talk about near and long-term futures, but before we do that, we're going to dig into the commercials a bit. Your commercial growth is also quite impressive, and so we have some questions related to that. You just mentioned, so you've expanded testing to 3 continents now over the last few years, and how's the technology adapted in these new locations?
Yeah, technology has been adapting incredibly well. It's been really validating to be proving out just how generalizable and scalable. We use those words a lot, but it's been really great to be able to prove that out and to be able to publish our results. So the latest example that we just published last week is that recently we took our fleets, which are currently deployed in San Francisco, London, Germany, and Tokyo. We took those fleets and we're taking them on a global roadshow. So again, sight unseen. In 90 days, we went to more than 90 cities and are showing performance generalization. And by the end of the year, we'll be taking our fleet to 500 cities. And again, this is all sight unseen without previous data inputs. And so I would say, how is our expansion been going? It's been going incredibly well, and it's something that really resonates with our OEM partners. I mentioned, they're building for global scale. That's how they make money in a really low margin business. So being able to show that performance has been really validating.
Let's talk a little bit about your OEM partners and what they're looking for. So can you give some examples of your work with OEMs and how you're scaling to their different approaches?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've announced one OEM partnership that I can talk about, which is with Nissan. So starting in 2027, we'll be deploying an L2 Plus technology on their vehicles. I'll say, watch this space for several other OEM announcements that should be...
Can I tempt you?
Imminent. I've got my PR team here, and I know they won't like that very much. But I would just say the OEM traction that we've seen has been incredible and positive. You mentioned that we were founded in 2017. Back then, when, at the time I wasn't on board, but when our founder went to OEMs, they all laughed and said, AI will never be able to be deployed on a vehicle. Literally laughed Wayve out of the room, because we've always been end-to-end AI, even before the rise of things like ChatGPT. Well, fast forward, and now what we're seeing is that AI is surpassing human intelligence in so many industries. And it's not just ChatGPT, right? It's in medicine and science and all these other areas where we're realizing that AI is an incredible tool to address complex scenarios like the complexities of automated and autonomous driving. And so when we went back 3 years ago and started, well, actually it was only 2 years ago that we started talking to OEMs again, the tone had completely changed, and the traction that we're seeing on the go-to-market end of things is a real signifier that OEMs recognize across the industry, globally, that end-to-end AI is the optimal approach for deploying safe and scaled autonomy. And it's, I think, a real proof point that the industry is ready for this with both the technology and with the compute and with the vehicles, so software-defined vehicles that are truly software-defined that can enable it. So it's been a real crescendo moment.
It really has, and I've seen the opinions change, as you say, over the last few years. It was a very sort of revolutionary approach when it was first suggested, but more and more people seem to be coming around to the idea. Let's talk a little bit about the levels. So you mentioned level 2 and maybe a level 2 plus. I think Thatcham talk about level 2.9 up through level 3 and level 4. People know about these. So basically going from assisted driving to the computer being in control. So would you mind doing a bit on that? What is Wayve's approach to going from level 2 to level 4, and where does level 3 fit into it?
It's a good point, because I think that there's a lot of ambiguity when we talk about level 2 plus. I loathe the term level 2 plus. Don't even add one more plus on there. But I'm sure that we're all familiar with this ambiguity of terms. So to get back to kind of like SAE levels and the TLDR of what we think of with level 2 is level 2 plus, which will be the technology that we're deploying, but level 2 will be the first technology that we deploy will be eyes on, hands off. So the driver has to monitor the system, and they're ultimately responsible as the fallback. So they're the redundancy if in the event that the vehicle can't traverse a scenario that it encounters. They're the additional safety mechanism, right? Then we think about L3, which we can over-the-air upgrade our technology depending on if the vehicle is equipped with the hardware. And level 3 is essentially being able to do eyes off, hands off, where the driver has a period to perform, there's a period for the vehicle to perform a minimum risk maneuver where the driver needs to re-engage. And that is the next level of autonomy, which we actually believe is a huge untapped market. Being able to give consumers their time back for their commutes, for driving on the road, that is the holy grail of what people are looking for assisted autonomy. We believe there's significant potential. And then there's level 4, which we're also able to over-the-air upgrade to. Again, that one's really dependent on vehicle hardware and redundancies being built into the platform. But pending the OEM has built those in, that's the full autonomy. Think you could be sleeping in the back seat. You never have to worry about being engaged with the driving task, because the vehicle intelligence does it all itself.
We could literally spend the next hour talking about levels, but we can't, I'm afraid. We must move on. Pun intended. when I set up Cars of the Future, I was aware that the name might one day be, let's say, postmodern, shall we? And it seems as if that day might be fast approaching. So we have the announcement last week that we have on-road testing without a safety driver, and we were hearing in the panel before about how they've been doing testing without a safety driver for 2 years now in China. So let's spend the last few minutes talking about what is still currently the future of autonomous mobility. I don't need that, that's fine.
I got you covered.
The future of autonomous mobility. So there's been a lot of hype around assisted and automated driving solutions, and this is quite a big question. What, in your view, is required to truly deliver level 4 at scale?
To deliver L4 at scale, and I think that we're right on the verge of having true global deployment, but what I believe is required to deliver at scale is mapless, scalable vehicle intelligence on one side, so that's what Wayve provides and what we're really eager to be deploying in our OEM partner vehicles. And on the other side, the piece that we need is a true software-defined platform with adequate redundancies that is at production scale. So not retrofit. We know that for a myriad of reasons, that's not going to cut it from a regulatory perspective outside of very limited geofences. So having more vehicle platforms that are coming off the assembly line that are validated, that are homologated for multiple regions, that's the other piece of this. Underpinning those things, though, because I think those are kind of like the two end pieces that you need in order to deploy L4 globally. There are a couple of other pieces which I believe are already here, but that weren't previously. And one of those is cloud compute at scale. So we're an AI company having access to the volume of compute that we need. Microsoft, thankfully, is both an investor and a partner, which is helpful, but also at the right economics to make this a viable business. That's critically important to develop that underlying software. And then on the the latter side that I mentioned, the vehicle platform, SoC availability, which is also here today. So anything, I'd say, NVIDIA Orin Plus or Qualcomm 8650 Plus, those levels of compute are already coming off the assembly line in production vehicles, and they're more than adequate to enable the software that's needed, plus all of the other compute needs that their cars have, like infotainment. So those underlying pieces are also needed in order to deploy L4 pragmatically, but those are here, they're in vehicles starting in 2025, and they're only scaling. I mean, we see it in China, we see it in high-end vehicle lines, so I think that we're right on the verge of essentially bringing all these things together.
Okay, we're getting there now. We'll see, we're all right for time at the moment. So, from your experience so far, what are the world's major OEMs looking for currently in a partner when it comes to deploying intelligent driving technology?
Yeah, I would be remiss not to start off in saying a safe, verifiable underlying software solution, that's table stakes, right? This isn't an iPhone, this is a 3,000-pound vehicle it's one of the most regulated industries in the world. So table stakes is safety case, and safety case being integrated into a production vehicle. Beyond that, I would say what OEMs are looking for and are now requiring is a flexible, and I hate to keep saying it, but a scalable technology. So that means that their consumers can use it anywhere. Not in 300 miles of mapped roads, not highway only, not within a geofence. It doesn't make pragmatic sense for the demands of their consumers and for what they need to compete with the likes of Tesla and the Chinese OEMs that we see are coming west really quickly. What OEMs are looking for is a competitive solution that consumers can use anywhere, that they can trust, and that doesn't limit their ability to engage with that vehicle intelligence. And I'm a bit biased because here I am, but it's one of the things that brought me to Wayve was this differentiated approach. It truly is the unlock for commercial uptake of automated and autonomous technologies. You can't expect consumers will adopt something if they don't understand what great looks like.
Well, that's great. Let's just have one final question. We've got a couple of minutes on this. So, it's a big question. It's the when. When do you think that this technology will be scaled globally, perhaps specifically in the UK, and how does that align with Wayve's roadmap?
Yeah, I'll speak to UK then globally. So UK, one of the things that we've been thrilled to see is that the UK government has been an incredible partner for deploying and also piloting technology at multiple levels of automation. So just 2 weeks ago, actually, gosh, it was only last week, just last week, they announced that they're pulling forward trials of L4 technology to starting in 2026. That's a key unlock to bringing L4 at production scale sooner in the UK. They've also been incredibly supportive with the AV Act, which is for production vehicles to deploy. And then globally, I mean, it's here. So Nissan is the first OEM engagement that we've announced in terms of sharing our partner. But I would say, to give you a bit of insight more than I did before, it's the first one that we've announced in terms of partnership, but it may not be the first that we're announcing relative to timeline to deploy the technology. So I mentioned we're working with several other OEMs. There are vehicles coming off the assembly line in 25 that have the capabilities that we need to deploy a very performant L2 Plus and L3 technology. And we are very much looking at those models as well as models coming off the assembly line in 2026. So when? I would say now.
Well, I think that is probably time to leave it there, isn't it? Right, thank you very much. Thank you to Move for having us. Thank you to Katie from Wayve. Please do check out Cars of the Future if you're not aware of it. There are some of these hard copy magazines floating around as well. I'm going to hand you back to Rupert now, and who I believe is going to be hosting our next panel on EV charging.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Move.